in verse 10, it kind of wraps up the first image of the first beast this way. It says, this calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on part of God's people. I think that speaks to all the ages of the church. It speaks to now that there needs to be patient endurance and faithfulness on behalf of God's people. There's a lot of activity that goes on. And in the final day, when these final antichrists are upon the earth and they're present, the way we're going to know it's the final one is that when Christ returns. That's what's going to give us this insight. Everybody's decoding and trying to figure out the 666. Well, here's the instruction to God's people in this. This calls for patient endurance and faithfulness on the part of God's people. Why? Because there is power, there is real authority that the enemy holds, and he uses it to wage war against God and against his people on the earth. He uses it to accumulate, to aggregate authority and power on the earth. And so I'm always amazed, I'm surprised when people can't understand why the earth isn't moving closer, why the systems, why governments, why the earth itself and the peoples of the earth aren't naturally inclined to move towards God. Well, the reason is because there's a power upon this earth. Ephesians chapter 6, Paul writes about that to the church in Ephesus. He says, listen, there are principalities and powers at work. We're not fooled. We don't look at people and call them the enemy. We know that they are just being used by the dragon. Behind the scenes, the dragon is manipulating forces upon this earth. He's using power and authority. He's using signs and wonders upon this earth to accumulate power, to build up his name, to throw accusation against God and against his people.